I'm going to call the city council regular session to order with roll call. Here.
Here. Councillor Rodley.
Here.
Councillor Stair.
Here.
Councillor Woodrow. Councillor Pictionary.
Here.
And Councillor Pitts.
Here.
Thank you.
Councillor Woodrow's excused for the evening. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item, please.
First item is the consent calendar.
I make a motion that we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Neil, could you call the vote, please?
Yes, Councillor Pitts.
Aye.
Councillor Mo.
Yes.
Councillor Rodley.
Yes.
Councillor Stair.
Aye.
Councillor Woodrow and Councillor Pictionary.
Aye.
Motion passes 5 yeses, 0 nos, 1 absent. Next item, please.
Next item is business from the city council. Item A is city manager compensation 2022. And Chaim Hertz is here for the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Chaim Hertz. I'm the HR Director here at the City of Springfield. The action I'm requesting today is for the council to discuss the city manager compensation as well as ratify a wage increase. In your packet, there are 3 attachments. One of those is the salary index for comparison. We also have a city manager comparison survey, which was completed earlier this year. And then I also have a third item, which is a third city manager compensation of comparable size for fall of 2022. The city manager's contract indicates that the city council shall give consideration to a wage adjustment on an annual basis. To assist in that consideration, we've provided a series of documents and information. There isn't really a specified method. Your AIS includes 4 options. Council is free to discuss those 4 options or select an option that's not included. But the goal is to answer any questions that you have and then ultimately read it.
All right, thank you. Leonard.
James, thanks for that report. What's the projected cost of living increase for this year?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have the answer off the top of my head. So what we've applied is 4 different indexes that we typically would look at and use. Those have ranged dramatically between, I think, depending on which one you look at. I've seen it as high as close to 9 all the way down to around 3 or 4. The average one that we've used historically came to a calculation of 5.13%, which was option 2 in the AIS.
Which one of these indexes would apply most closely to our area, or do you have an opinion on that?
Typically, we would look at the Western, so either the Western officers and executives or the Oregon officers and executives.
Which would average out to about 5%. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I got right now. Thank you.
Damian.
So I got a bunch of questions, but I guess my first one is, even though you did a comparison of the cities, did you do a comparison of the duties for these? And then I'm also curious what the city structure is as far as the city manager, council, mayor type deal, and how that could potentially affect duties. Yeah.
So short answer is no. We looked at, typically speaking from a job description standpoint, city manager positions are pretty standard. Where we see the specific differences is the discretionary budgetary decision making. So for example, the city of Eugene structure and what the city manager is authorized for budget spending is different than the charter we have here at the city of Springfield. But the overarching day-to-day are roughly about the same. When we take a traditional approach, we try to look at agencies of comparable size. That gives us usually an indication that those positions are fairly similar, with the exception of differences in city charters. I don't know if hopefully that answers your question.
Damien,
Yeah. I mean, I just, and I'm not opposed to anybody getting paid, but I think the whole word comparable can be analyzed a lot deeper. But while I got the floor, my other question uh, is this same comparison done for other city employees? And if not, why?
So the short answer is yes. There's some differences based on the labor unions that we work with. So we have 5 different labor contracts, and then we have a non-represented group. All of them are a little bit different in their approach, primarily in the areas of where we look at comparable size. So with our labor contracts that have annual increases that we do, we really narrow that down to a 3 up, 3 down approach. And look at it from that perspective. And then in our larger union, which is SEIU, and our non-rep, we take a very large salary survey process that involves a consultant and involves significantly larger numbers of agencies that are built into that comparative data. But by and large, we look at population size or population served size, and utilize that as our data points for determining where to go. And then the rest of it gets into the kind of the bargaining approach of whether or not you're trying to be at average or some range in between, plus or minus what that average might look like.
Damien, did you have anything else?
All right, now.
Joe?
Thank you. Shane, going to attachment 3, page 1 of 1. That bottom graph, and that's your 2 up, 3 down comparison.
Yeah, so that's looking like that's what I would call a 50%. So it's a 50% up and down model. Yeah.
Right. So I appreciate that, because I was reading that one on attachment 2, page 1 of 1, and I was thinking, there's some things here that I have some issues with, and then I scrolled down and I saw the next page, and that put it all back into the ballpark for me. So I appreciate how you did that, because I've asked that question many times to take out some of these other things, because it just is kind of like comparing apples to oranges. So I like this comparative table, and if I'm reading it correctly, you are recommending, or there's not your recommendation, but your observation would be that she's at 6.84% below the average of those folks under the total compensation, and then she is 3.26% behind on the adjusted compensation. Is that right?
Correct. So the adjusted compensation is looking at the cost of labor factor, recognizing that the cost of labor is different. And so we have a neutral resource that we pull, which is through our Gallagher group, that helps us pull with that cost of labor. So when we do an adjustment of cost of labor, yeah, you're correct. Average, to put her, Nancy, at average, it'd be 3.26%.
Okay. And so then one could extrapolate from this that you're not necessarily, if I was to recommend, for example, a raise, the standard I would use would be one of those 2 or the 2 combined.
I would say the standard is something in between.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So it gets to the philosophical art,
Right.
for this, which is, are you comfortable with that particular position being paid at average, or does performance in that role distinguish something other than average?
Right.
And then, of course, looking at, and as you can see, that there isn't any, it's not defined by city population and what they're paying their city managers. There's some variations within that. So population in itself isn't the only regard. So that's why I, in this case, slid so you could see exactly where the city of Springfield's fit in population.
Yeah.
And then determine kind of where you would want to be. And then, of course, what I tried to do is just provide pure data in those options. And so these are simple.
I appreciate that. It makes it, at least for me, it makes it pretty easy to understand. And based on, and I think we can go ahead and enter into discussions, correct now, Sean, is that right?
Yes, if you're thinking about a number, now would be a good time to throw it out there.
Yeah, no, I am thinking of a number, and I think that based on the evaluation material that I've seen and written and have read, and my observations of her performance that I'm comfortable with the 6% on the upper end of that increase. And where that 6% drops into would be something that I would like to defer to recommendations from Shane, because I know that there are some different tax implications in regards to some of those categories, i.e., for example, the stipend for the car is taxed at a particular rate, or maybe even a PERS pickup. So, or look towards Nancy in regards to if she was to see a 6% raise, how that would she would like to see that dropped into her bucket.
All right. Does anybody want to navigate that set of questions?
So, yeah, so just for clarity and adding some ease to the conversation, the two options that you have are whether or not you want to put it purely in wage, or you want to mix that with a deferred comp contribution versus the PERS pickup, just from a clarity standpoint. I provided the average data, and you can see that from a deferred comp perspective,
She's low.
Below in that, and certainly
Right.
with the wage change, that's going to increase that number. But I just wanted to put context that it's really staying within those two would be the easiest approach.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. So I would entertain doing the increase of the 6% and putting a portion of that to bring her deferred comp contribution up to around at least Lake Oswego's level, or maybe halfway between Grants Pass and Lake Oswego, in that area. In that way, it would be tax free. It wouldn't be taxed for her.
All right. Corey.
Yeah,
And then
I'm
we'll,
looking at the math.
Uh,
Well, and Joe sort of got to it, because my question was really gonna be, and I'm trying to remember what we did last year, and I don't know what we did last year. So, is that, the numbers that we're given were really just around just like what would be the just cost of living adjustment, not taking into account any sort of merit. And so this is sort of my first time around this. What have we historically done in terms of how we think about it, or have we done it differently every single year?
we've probably done it differently every single year. James, do you have the last year number?
I don't. It was smaller. We've definitely seen a big
Right.
market shift. I want to say it was around 3%, but I don't remember the exact.
Okay.
That's my recollection. Sean is right around that 3 to 4% area. And I think too, and Corey, I'm glad you brought that up, because we've kind of melded the two together and not saying, okay, you're going to get a COLA increase, and oh, by the way, your merit's going to be this. I think we brought them together, keeping in mind what COLA is kind of the lower end, no less than, and then look at the rest. And that's why I went with the 6%, because basically it's the COLA is not going to probably that high, be about between probably 3 and 4. So this is up and above, over and above that based on merit. For me, that's where I'm coming from.
Well, I guess this
You
is a
keep-
regular meeting.
Yeah, you keep jumping in here, Corey.
Sorry, I guess we're not in a work session anymore.
Yeah. So do you have other questions?
Yeah, I just have a follow-up question.
Sure,
about that,
go ahead.
or a comment really, in that, if I rule the world, I would love to see us get intentional about that, because the point of a merit really is that there's some incentive and this reward for, like, I'm doing a great job. So it goes above and beyond a COLA, which I appreciate. I also am like 6-7%, in terms of what we do when we do the math,
Okay,
and then I'll sit back.
Leonard.
So what was the increase that we gave Nancy last year? Do we know?
We are thinking it's between 3 and 4%.
Okay,
We did give her a raise last year, but
all right,
we know
well,
that for sure.
if I'm remembering correctly, the CPIU was 7% last year. So to an extent, we're trying to make up for a 3% deficit from last year. So what where I'm going, I mean, I'm acknowledging the 5% that we're averaging out as the cost of living this year, but I'm also looking at a 3 to 4% increase to make up for what happened last year. So I'm looking in the range of option 4, which is 9%. That's where I'm at.
All right, just Steve.
2.5 years ago or so, we did a nationwide search for candidates for our city manager. And we interviewed them all and we selected Nancy Newton. We did a good job. We have the best city manager in the world here right now. When I look at these values over here at the other cities are paying, I think she's worth more than that to us. But we do have financial constraints in the city. But I will support the highest number that the rest of this council will agree on, because I think she's worth it.
So if I could just interrupt, I
Sure.
was given the number. So last year's increase was 5.53%.
Okay. So I guess here's my take on it. And I think the deferred compensation question is an interesting question, and we should probably come back and look at that compared to everybody else, but I don't know that we need to solve that tonight. And I don't think that when you look at overall like the overall cost of living, like trying to sort of split the baby and put some in deferred comp and some in wage would make I think we should answer the wage question. And then if we want to come back and talk about deferred comp in the new year, we can do that. I think I'm fine with 7%. Like here's the reality is that we would, if we all had $1 million, we would love to reward Nancy more, but we have to sort of balance this with something that matches what the CPI is, drives a little bit of merit, and then just broadly speaking, right? Like we've got to understand that, we're going to navigate through a whole list of, high cost of living when it comes to the rest of the employees. And so taking a very, very conservative approach to it will give us a chance to navigate that and be good fiscal stewards. Not that Nancy's not worth $1 million, but we don't have it sitting around. Joe.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with 7. I was just looking at those numbers and trying to find a good spot to land, but that's not a problem. I'm good with that. I like that.
And I want to be kind of clear about my logic, and then we can open it up to, because Steve, you got to put it in a form of a motion here, because we're doing both things at the same time. I based my logic off of, and really off of looking at the attachment 1, and then looking at kind of the average plus adding a little bit for merit. Steve, I think we're ready.
What number do we have some actual numbers here?
I think we're saying 7%.
And I think you can do
Thank you.
this motion, just these notes, just.
All right. I would like to make a motion that we approve adjusting the salary of the city manager as agreed upon in this meeting at 7%.
Second.
Call the roll, Neil.
Yes, Counselor Pitts,
Aye.
Counselor Mo,
Yes.
Counselor Rodley,
Yes.
Counselor Stair,
Fine.
Counselor Woodrow, and Counselor Pictionary.
Motion passes. 5 yeses, 0 nos, 1 absent. Next item, please.
If there's no other business from the city council?
Oh, no, there's going to be other business. It's a public meeting. We're not the last one of the year, and we're like, Counselor Rodley's not going to let us out of this. You need a minute?
No, I know exactly what I'm going to say.
Okay, well, then I'm gonna go first.
Oh, then you probably know what I'm going to say, and you're going to trump me.
Oh,
I want to go too.
No.
You don't even know what anybody else is gonna say.
Well, okay, then I'll go first because I know what I'm going to say. Go ahead.
All right. So it is our last meeting of the year. And I know I've talked to a lot of you folks individually. We do have 2 counselors that are leaving us, Counselor Pitts and Counselor Woodrow. And really, when I kind of backed up, I really asked them, okay, how do you want us to recognize that? The feedback I got was, well, when we get out of flu season and when we get out of cold season and we get out of any other respiratory virus that we may all have season, they ask us for us to get together and have a small reception to celebrate their contribution. But that is most likely going to be in the spring. So what I want folks to know is that before we leave, that at least acknowledge that folks are going to be leaving us when the year comes around, but we'll have a chance to get together when Councilor Woodrow is feeling a little bit better, and then we can organize it in an appropriate way. Besides, that will give Public Works time to print the signs. All right, Corey.
Thank you. And that was perfect. You served it up because I really wanted to acknowledge both of our outgoing counselors as well and just say a couple of things. I'm just ending my second year on council. And so this has been the incarnation of council that I have known. And in my first year, I really appreciated serving on the Human Services Commission with Councilor Woodrow, who, comes from a different generation of human services and has been involved in that a long time and was really helpful to have her be a part of that. And since she's been ill, she hasn't been as much a part of it, but it was helpful to serve on that commission with her, and I appreciated her perspective. And additionally, Councilor Pitts, who, was one of my first big votes, is that I think we unanimously appointed Councilor Pitts to serve in the interim in Ward 1. And I think I told folks that I'd worked with him before, and we often didn't agree, but that I really appreciated that disagreement. And that has continued as part of the council, that we're able to look at things from different perspectives. And I will miss both of their contributions. And also, I'm looking forward to the new incarnation of this council, but I just want to send them off to their next adventures.
Joe.
Well, good. Okay. So Mary Lee and I go back since day one with her because, her husband, John, and I served together on the council before he passed away, and Mary Lee was on the seat, and I have got a very good close relationship. But then there's Damien. So I don't know, it's been rough, kind of a skip and go, but no, in all honesty, I have really enjoyed having him on council, and I'm dismayed that he did not run again. I tried my best to try to convince him that would be an amazing, smart move, but he didn't believe me. I think I tried to bribe him with a barbecue, and that didn't work. So anyway, Damien, I really appreciate you, and I've really appreciated our relationship that we struck up during this council, and I appreciate you. You always it's clear where you stand, and it's clear that you don't falter from where you stand. And I think that's commendable, and I respect you for that. So at some point when we have this potential, you're talking about maybe a spring get together, whatnot, then I'm going to personally go and pick Damien up and bring him, as long as we're doing a barbecue, because I'm not going to attend unless it's a barbecue.
Oh, you mean in
It's one of those new
your
grills.
truck? I thought you meant actually pick Damien up and.
No, not physically. No, I'll
Shane was
provide
back there
transportation. Provide transportation is what I meant, but I do think it needs to just because it needs to be a barbecue, and I would be happy to help cook that. In fact, I would probably ask Damien to help. So,
Well,
Very
that's right. It would be for the right way to celebrate people by asking them to cook the food.
absolutely. All
right. So I'm going to mention the quick thing. Mary Lee and I go way back too, right? Like I count her as a close personal friend, and her time here will be really, really missed. I thought the world of John as well, and like it's her insight's going to be definitely missed in this community, and we're going to wish her well off. Damien, I've learned a ton from you the last couple of years, and I'm really going to miss some of the later night conversations about just insight and, different ideas that you had and different things that you were willing to champion. And like Joe said, I think we were all rooting for you to run again, but it just wasn't in the cards. But like your contributions to this community are definitely appreciated. Leonard?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I talked briefly to Marilee today, and saw her at the hospital, and she sends her best to everyone. And I just want to say that she was an invaluable bridge to me when I came in to the council, along with Hillary and Sherry and Christine. They were very welcoming and, didn't have to be. We're under no obligation to be as much of a mentor as each of them was, and probably Marilee among them. I mean, foremost among them. Damien, it's been an honor and a privilege. Your insights have been much welcomed, and I hope wherever you go on from here, you'll say that you knew us when. Thanks.
All right, Steve.
My turn. Well, I knew John Woodrow when he was counselor, and then when Marilee became counselor through the years, she sure took charge of that Thurston area out there and represented them very well in issues. And very important. I'll miss her at the first of the year. Damien gave me an insight into issues that I didn't know about, that I should have known. And I thank you for that, Damien. And I still want to learn from you, by the way. And I still hope that maybe you call in or contribute to some of the council meetings as a citizen, because and we don't. We need to know that. So I thank you very much, and I'll miss you. Thanks.
Are you sure we want him calling in? Just
Hey, Joe, you got to save the jokes for the fall, for the spring, because then we'll have tease them and celebrate them again. All right. Any other news or things to share? The only other thing that will be coming your way by email, AJ is going to send out a memo that's got committee assignments for the counselors that will be here, plus the new counselors in January. There will be a date, and I don't remember it off the top of my head, that if you need to get back to me by, if for some reason the scheduling doesn't work, the timing works, or you're like, oh man, Sean, this is something I have no interest in, because we have to ratify it on the first meeting in January. So please, I know it's the Christmas season and everybody's busy with family, but please make 5 minutes to take a look at it and validate that it looks good for the new year. All right. With that, I think we are done for the evening. We will see everybody in January. Have a Merry Christmas. We are adjourned.